Hi everyone, it's Coach Bro Flores, and I am making this video today to talk about how to feel a sense of safety in an increasingly unsafe world. I feel really nervous. I haven't done a video in a very long time. So last time I was posting consistently on my YouTube page was back in like midway through the pandemic, and I did a video about how to keep working, or how to decide, if you're doing work, how to do it during the pandemic. And then I dropped off. A lot has happened in my life since then, and in the last 3 years, I just, in general, regular kind of content posts that I haven't posted a lot because I had my kid, my dad got sick, there's just we got a house, all of that took a lot of time and energy, and I just don't have, honestly, I don't have the capacity to make long videos and edit them, and it takes so long. I did a tiny reel today and it took an hour and a half to upload, and it took over my phone, and it took over all my energy and my attention, and then my kid didn't like that, and then then he spilled a whole cup of coffee on the floor, and then I had to give him a timeout because he did it on purpose, but then I have to talk to him about it, and then, oh my god, I'm such a different person than I was years ago. And I feel like I really want to share that with the world, because just the way I think, everything has changed so much. I'm in a much better place than I've been in the past, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way, because it feels like the world is purposely getting worse because I feel better. That's what my brain tells me. My brain tells me that things have gotten worse because you're happy. So then it's don't be happy. So I don't know about y'all, but I feel very unsafe. Oh my god. So much is happening in the world. I don't while I'm not I don't know, things are changing. I'm not top priority as far as if there's a tier of risk. I'm not the person they're coming after today, and I'm not low enough, not for my comfort. And I hit way too many markers of just in general, a person who can't hide well. So I don't feel safe, and I know a lot of other people that don't feel safe. I scroll online and I see all of it all the time, and I have such strong emotion right now, because just what are we I don't know that, one, I don't think most of us are reacting in a way that is healthy. I think a lot of us are also reacting to that unhealthiness in other people as well, and so then we're just there's just ugh, everywhere. And so that's why I want to make this video, obviously to share with you guys. I need to start sharing more stuff again, and I feel like I finally have a rhythm in my life where I can kind of make this fit. My kid is napping right now, so as long as he doesn't wake up too soon, I can do this whole video. And I want to, I guess in a sense, what I would like to do is be able to just connect with people, and I know that video is the way people want to do it. I know people don't want to sit and read. But I want my work out there. I want my stuff out there. I want my voice out there, because right now it feels like they're doing everything they can to make sure that we don't have a voice, and that some of us specifically are forgotten. Maybe that's the word. I don't want to go too negative, but that's where my mind is. So yeah. So basically what I'm going to do in this video though, and from here on, I'm just going to turn the camera on and start a video. I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to say and and I'm going to do a lot of that because back when I was doing videos before, the editing took forever. If you have a long video, you have to watch that whole video again every time you edit something, because you may have changed something. Or how did my cat get inside? Oh my god. Okay, that scared me. I closed the door. I feel so nervous. Sorry. I feel like I can be likable and I could get along with people if they saw me being me, but I get so nervous that I have such a hard time with it. So bear with me. I hope to get more comfortable as I do more of these videos. And right now my plan, I have notes out already made and everything. My hope is to do one video a month for the rest of the year. on one big topic, and then I'm going to put out other kinds of posts on that same topic. And so, like I said, this video is just as much for me as it is for anyone out there, anyone who might need it. I really hope that the framework I'm using helps. What else? Let me see. I have notes and I have to look at them. Yeah, I'm just going to try to be myself in the video. And if there's a lot of dead space, oh well. Also, I have to stand because if I sit, I'm down here. I can't figure out how to make my camera. I don't have a stand for the camera. I don't want to spend money on a stand. Oh my God. Everything is so much effort. And like, I know there's people who do that. They put in so much effort. They do really good videos. They do really good editing. I just don't have the capacity. Like, I have an hour during the day, maybe when he's napping, and then I have a couple hours at night after he goes to sleep, and I need to do other stuff. So I'm still trying to figure out how to be a person after motherhood. And I really would like my guys, I put a lot of energy into a lot of the stuff I do. Like, I put a lot of energy into the work I've done, into like everything that I put on my website, everything that I put on, everything I write. And I really like want to be able to show it to the world. And then, to be fair, not to be what do people say, a negative Nancy, not to be like too negative, but that's kind of where my brain is again. If I have to leave this country, I need something, because what are we gonna do? Like, I don't know other countries. I don't know. I didn't go to school in a different country. I don't have a degree over there. I didn't have a I don't have a career somewhere else, and so I better make this online stuff work. Okay, so basically, I have this framework I call the Be Yourself training, and I have it on my Facebook. I have a little Facebook group that you can join. It's a private group, so as you join, there's this expectation of privacy in there, and I have a whole training guide there, where I don't use specifically stuff that's just mine. I use a lot of other people's articles and stuff like that, and I had actually started making videos about this framework around the time I stopped posting, because I got in my head about the way I was editing, and then I just couldn't get past it. And so I was super excited when I did it, and then it's like my brain was like, nope, can't do this anymore. Like, seriously, right now my brain's telling me, you're not being cute, like, that's not funny, quit laughing, quit saying this. All right, so let me just break down the Be Yourself system. And so basically, I start with self-awareness, then self-acceptance, self-love, self-care, self-direction, and then being yourself in the world. This isn't based on like anybody's like it's not like something that like has been studied or anything like that. It's just a good way for me to kind of break down the way I've gone through the steps of getting to be where I feel a lot more comfortable with myself. And so this can be, in a sense, it can be for people who are working on themselves individually, right? So just in general, if you're a person who doesn't feel safe with themselves or in their community or anything like that. But I am very clearly here also going to be talking about the state of the world right now. And I'll be a little bit vague just in case, you know, somebody doesn't see this. There's a good chance nobody will see this video until, if they do ever watch it, it might be way, way later on. So I guess everything can fit. All right, so I think for a lot of us, and I kind of teeter-totter back and forth, when things are rough, so like with the world right now, I'm making this video on July 1st of 2025. Lots of historical stuff going on today. But I'm so sorry, I get nervous. Okay, self-awareness is where we want to start at. I think a lot of us just we're not even aware of how we're feeling. Like right now, I know, I could tell, I know I'm nervous. I know that's the word for what I'm feeling. And it's very hard to kind of move past it. But let me just take a deep breath. Let me model how to regulate yourself. Take some water. Okay, self-awareness. The reason we start here is because a lot of us don't really know where we're at. We don't really know that there's something happening. We just, often we can tell, like, hey, I don't feel good, or something feels off, or I'm not happy, or like we use what I would say is like a really vague top statement, but we don't really understand what's going on underneath it and what's causing that. And so then that affects our ability to address it. And when it comes to safety and the sense of safety we feel in the world, I see like a spectrum where like some people are over here, they are overwhelmed. I think that's where I'm at. Overwhelmed, like just feeling everything, and it's taking over everything, if that makes sense. And then you got people on the opposite side who are almost completely disconnected, disassociated, numbing themselves out of it because they just, nope, can't handle it, don't want to. And so you might, you might be a person who's either like, yeah, I don't even follow any politics, I don't follow the news, I don't even watch anything, I don't even know what's going on in the world. Even if it affects you, you're just like, I cannot put any effort towards that. And then there are people on the other side who are scrolling for hours on end, who are just like staying up all night because they're like, I can't stop thinking about this, I can't stop being affected by it. And so first and foremost, I think a good way to start is to be aware of that, right? Where on the spectrum are you sensing that you're falling? And so I want to break it down into a couple different ways for you to think about it. Okay, so the first one is going to be sensations, thoughts, emotions, and behavior. So kind of like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Sensations just means like physically, what are you feeling? For example, if you're like, oh, my leg is hurting, that's a sensation. My heart rate, headache. Some people feel numbness sometimes. I was talking to somebody who said that they kind of feel like the room is kind of like they're floating. I've had that experience as well. Your heart hurting, or like a chest pressure, sweating. I get hiccups sometimes. Just in general, being more aware of the physical sensations, because they're almost always tied to something else, and it is very hard to be aware of them sometimes, or to see them as what they are. Then thoughts to me are a little bit easier than the other two, because with thoughts, we're here thinking them, but we know sometimes when we're having a negative thought, or we know when we're having like a good thought or a helpful thought, and we're not connecting it then to like the next part in order for us to then address it, because what's happening around it may be affecting that thought, but then we're not like being able to connect it. I hope that makes sense. I need to catch my breath. I'm talking really fast, I'm getting nervous. Okay. That'll make more sense when I explain emotions. Okay, emotions. People use the word feelings a lot for expressing emotions, and then what happens is sometimes people will say, well, I feel tired. Tired's more of a sensation. Emotions are more of like the emotional expression that you're having. So like happy, sad, angry, disappointed, frustrated. There's a lot of different words that you could use, and there's better words to describe how you're feeling, but it's really easy to just start off with your basic like happy, sad, good, bad. Sometimes just I don't feel good, or I feel bad today. Like today I intended to feel good and then I woke up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I am tired, and I feel like crap, and I am sad about the world, and as much as I want to feel differently, I can't. Like, this is just how I'm feeling, and so I'm having to kind of just live through it. And so a lot of us are having that experience where we wake up and we can recognize like this general, today's good, today's bad, and then again we can't connect it back to the rest of the stuff. And then there's behavior. I think that's another one where like we fall on spectrums. Some people respond to that feeling of being unsafe by falling into negative behaviors. And by negative behaviors, I mean things that you yourself would classify as a negative behavior. So something that you don't want to be doing. Not that those actions themselves are bad in general, right? So for example, some people are drinking, eating in ways that are not healthy for them, other recreational activities, But even like playing video games, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But then when it becomes excessive to the point that it's either affecting your relationships or it's affecting the way you feel or your time or your energy, then that can become an issue, right? And so anything can become an issue when it's affecting us in a negative way. And so, okay. What I think is important to do is to start creating a habit of noticing what's taking place in our body, and then what's taking place in our mind, in the way we respond to the world, and how we're processing it in our mind. And then take all that information and apply it to who, what, where, when, and how. So who, I think a lot of us have a very specific who, you know, where one person comes up and you're just like having that automatic reaction. I don't know if we all agree on that, but sometimes, you know, we're recognizing that feeling of that fear that comes up, or even just like apprehension, or for example, some of you might not really be recognizing that you're feeling fear, but then every time a certain family member comes around, you're just like, I gotta be careful, I gotta not say this, I gotta act this way, I gotta do this, because you recognize that like you don't feel safe, you don't feel fully safe with that person. And then for some people this is like, I mean, obviously you don't want to call them friends if you don't feel safe around them, but people we consider friends are, you know, your neighbors or your church members or people you work with or other moms, etc. And so that's on the who. The what could be, for example, people are avoiding the news right now, and that can be a very protective step. I understand it. I'm not very good at it, but I understand it. And they're recognizing, yeah, whenever this thing is there, whenever this thing is happening. So for example, another what can be bills. Oh my God. Every time you have to think about buying something, just things that happen, just in general. Maybe your phone goes off and it creates this feeling and this jolt inside of your body that feels like you just ran a red light. That happens to me a lot. And the way we want to think about that, so back in the day, right, like the theories back in the day when we were like cavemen or whatever, when we had that feeling, we were reacting to actual danger, right? So there was like a lion in front of us. It's kind of cute. I have a lion right there and it's for my kid. We have a lion coming at us and you're like, hey, run, you know, fight or flight or fear, or what is it, fawn or freeze. Your body had to do something in order to react to that. These days, we might not have a lion outside our door, although some people are going to have to deal with alligators. This is not going to make any sense in the future, and I'm hoping that it doesn't make sense in the future. Okay, basically your body's reacting as if a lion was hitting you. Like you're about to get chased by a lion, you're about to get eaten, you're about to get mauled, and it was just a text message coming in from your boss, or like a notification on Facebook that somebody commented on something you posted and you're like, oh my God, what if this person left something bad, or such. I guess I want to minimize it and say it's such small things, right? Like it's things that don't matter in the grand scheme of life. That does not matter, because there are people who do live in incredibly really unsafe situations. There are people right now in Gaza who are getting bombed. Like their fear is an actual bomb. And so it makes sense for their body to like get up and go when they see the lights, you know, like, but us, on the other hand, you know, a lot of us who have PTSD or people who have gone through really difficult traumatic experiences, this weekend of 4th of July is going to be very hard. Hearing the noises, seeing the lights, sometimes, at least for me, very social environments are really hard for me. And so we're responding to things that are not the thing that we're afraid of, but it is affecting us in a really negative way. So, and then there's where and when, which would be just explaining whatever situations are causing us some of this stress. And then I put how, because I think that's when you can recognize how you're responding to something that is affecting you. And I like the idea, you know, that joke about how like the only time you clean is when somebody's coming over to your house. That's probably a trauma response. Personally, I'm like, I need somebody coming to my house at least once a week so that like I run around the whole house trying to clean up as quickly as I can. If not, like, I won't do it. But oh my god, I get so nervous right here whenever I do this little laugh because I'm just like, oh, I'm probably coming off so, what's the word, cringy. Oh, well, here, it's a good response. Anytime I hear myself laugh and I think to myself, what, do you think you're funny? Oh, you're not cute. They're not gonna think that that's cute. Come back into yourself, like pull yourself back in. And then I do this thing where I kind of like crouch my body. That's a physical action, right? And then I get afraid. And in the past, I would have turned the video off and I would be like, nope, not doing that again. Or I would have restarted the video several times, or I would have told myself really ugly things because I'd be like, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, who freaking cares about this? Why are you doing this? Like, it's not worth it. And a lot of those kind of thoughts. I will say that, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I don't do that as much anymore. My automatic response now is to take a deep breath, which is something that took me a very long time. So it doesn't happen for you. Don't think that you can't. Drinking water is a big one for me. Okay, so we're at self-awareness. And another aspect of this that I think is important to consider is being aware of the world, right? So having a very clear recognition of reality. So clue yourself into the actual world. I think because some of us are on the, sorry, I keep looking that way because there's a like really cool little ABC chart I have for my kid, and it's something nice to look at, but the camera's over here, so I should put something here. So where was I? Yes, some of us are, on the other hand, so way off on the end of not aware of anything that's going on, right? Which you would think can help us because then we don't feel the anxiety of knowing what's happening. But for a lot of us, it's keeping us in that cycle of fear because you don't know what's actually happening. You might be hearing some stuff, some people post some things, and you're just like, oh, you hear enough that you know things are happening, but not enough that you are able to genuinely understand whether or not you're affected, if you should worry, if you shouldn't worry, if you are safe or unsafe. So that's not, it's not the best way to feel safe, right? And then, this is for me, and I think a lot of us, okay? Although I think most of us that are in this end of the world, in this corner, I guess, we would not agree. But we might be over catastrophizing and thinking of the absolute worst, and we're going off the deep end, and some of the things that we see or say may not be the true extent of where things are. And I see that because I keep seeing these posts where it explains all these things that are in like this bill or that thing. Sorry, I'm gonna put my phone in charge. I keep seeing posts like that, and then I'm like, oh my god, I have the panic response that I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know that. And then I look it up and it's like, that's not quite right. Like, I get where they're coming from, where they're like, well, if they do this, then that'll lead to this, and then to this. I get that. And I think that level of panic is almost like important to get some people caring enough. So I understand the people who do it, why they do it. And I also understand the people who are like, you're just as bad as the other side, etc. But that's where having a more real sense of what's actually happening can help kind of ground you with that. Okay, that was a lot on self-awareness. Self-acceptance. So self-acceptance is hard. It's, I think, the hardest thing. And the reason I put acceptance here instead of where a lot of models of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or like all these other like psychological kind of models and stuff, when people talk about the concept of self-acceptance, they kind of put it higher up in the importance. Like, it's like you have to do all these other things first and then you get there. When people talk about like being yourself or like just all of those things, they always put self-love and self-care earlier because there's this one, it's easier to understand and explain this, and acceptance is so much harder because you can't get to self-acceptance easily without getting there. So one way that I like to explain it is, before change, we must accept what is. So self-acceptance does not mean that you agree. It does not mean that you like things. It does not mean that you are okay with or want to stay in where you're at. Acceptance just means that you are recognizing what is. So you become aware of it. Now you need to be able to hold the reality of it, that's what is. It's what's happening right now. It's what you're feeling, thinking, doing, what's happening in the world, what situation you're in. After you are able to truly accept things, then you're able to understand them and then change them, right? But when you're still in that kind of little bit of denial, then you really can't. And it's hard to actually put work towards making those changes. So I want to talk about a big part of getting to this place is having, how to explain this, okay. Whether you're on this end of the spectrum or on this end of the spectrum, whether you are having like what you would consider an over response or an under response, or as other people might be saying that to you, I want to tell you that it's valid. Human beings respond in almost textbook ways sometimes, and we all do it very differently, but we tend to follow certain patterns, and it's normal, it's common, it's how your body should work. I remember a therapist told me once that when it came to PTSD, because when I was getting diagnosed for that it's not that I'm not normal, it's that I am normal. What happened to give me PTSD was what wasn't normal. So the fact that my body was able to react and adapt to it and maybe have maladaptive coping strategies was my brain doing what it's supposed to do. So that's the way you want to think about the way you're responding to the world around you. Like, this is, your brain is doing what it needs to do. It's putting in the work to protect you. It's always trying to do what it needs to do to respond to the things that are. So from here forward, then we can now, let's say we're aware of everything. Now we need to talk about, okay, what's in our sphere of control and what isn't. There are things that I can 100% control in my life. Something I'm trying to think, what can I control? Not a lot, but there is a lot compared to other people, I guess. But I can control what I'm gonna eat. I can control what I'm gonna drink. I can control how I decorate this room. I can, there are things that are in my control. They just don't feel in my control because of the things that aren't in my control. For example, a lot of the way my kid is gonna react to things or how he's gonna respond to the day, that's out of my control. I don't have a lot of say in that. I can only help him, and I can create a routine that kind of helps him. And then same goes with the world. I can control making sure that I have a safety plan in place to make sure that I have the documents and the contacts and the information that I need for when I might need them. But I don't have any control over whether or not that will happen or when. Hopefully if. And so this step, like I said, it takes time. Don't be frustrated with yourself. And if you do, you just say, I'm frustrated. A lot of this is, so there's acceptance, what is it called? ACT, acceptance therapy, acceptance. I'm missing the middle word, I forgot. I have really bad recall memory, by the way. Being a mom has made it way worse. Like, my brain just doesn't work. I have like all the factors against me. I was a mom, I had COVID, that really messed me up, depression, and I'm supposed to be on meds that help, and I feel like they're making me tired. Anyways, so once you kind of have a good understanding of what is in your control and what isn't, then you can work through. So for example, things that are not in your control, there is a level of acceptance that has to take place, because it doesn't mean that they can never change, right? But there needs to be understanding that either things are not able to change right now, or there are things that you cannot affect right now, or there are things that might never change. So for example, I have a lot of mental, neuro kind of things in my life that I can affect, but I can't actively change. My body will just react as it needs to react when that's just the way it's set up right now. Maybe in the future, I always think, well, one day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be 100% okay. But that's not reality. And so there's a lot of things I can address around those things, like how I respond to the symptoms that I have, how I take care of myself, how I seek out support, and how I stay informed about what I can do, etc. So this is where my next point is, you look at realistic changes versus adaptation. And so what are the realistic changes you can take for the things that you either can control or the things that you can't control but want to change? And then I'm going to talk more about that in the next couple points. But for the things you can't change, for a lot of people, a big part of getting to a place where they feel a little bit better is just being able to say, yeah, that's what things are. Because sometimes the whole world is like constantly just telling you like that you need to change it. Or like, for example, people with chronic pain, they can't change that. Like, there's a lot of stuff they can try to do to kind of affect it. And trust me, people who are living that way, we're doing their best. And yet the world will be like, well, have you done yoga? Have you done this? Have you done that? And it's like, sometimes there's a lot of power in being able to be like, you know, I know what works for me. This is how I feel right now. Okay, my next step on here is self-love. How about I don't trip? I wrote down, before care comes love as action and belief. Self-love to me, I guess the way I would describe it, is a belief system. I think a lot of us think of love as like the lovey-dovey feelings, you know? But it's the belief that you're worthy of loving yourself and being loved by others. Now, there's this big debate online about how, like, I think there's like a quote that says that, oh, people can't love you until you learn to love yourself, or like, you can't love others until you learn to love yourself. I don't know, something along the lines of that. And people debate about it because they're like, oh, that's not true. Like, I learned to love through loving others, or I learned how to love others through loving myself, or etc. Or I needed to do one before the other. And at its core, what I think is it matters is that you recognize that both you and others are worthy of love. And that's really, really hard for a lot of people. That was probably the one that was the hardest for me ever. I can say that when I was younger, like, I genuinely didn't believe that I was worthy of being loved. Like, I have a lot of religious trauma stuff, but I believed, like, I'm evil. Like, I'm, like, deeply evil. Like, I am not worthy of love. And the reason that I don't feel loved and that I'm not loved is because I'm just not lovable, right? And so I would read all these things about how to have confidence, or how to, you know, self-esteem and all these things. And it's like, well, okay, but it's all pretend. Like, I didn't believe it was possible. And so if you don't believe it, then nothing that you do is going to help, because you don't believe it. So it's still good to do good things for yourself, by the way. But there needs to come this understanding that you are lovable. So let me throw in, this one's hard. Okay. In order for you to believe that you're lovable, you have to believe that other people are lovable. That there's something innate in our humanness that makes us worthy and makes us worthy of love. And that means good people and bad people. That means people we agree with and people we don't agree with. And that means people we want to hate. And people who are imperfect, and people who annoy us, and people who are doing absolutely everything in their power to try to make us hate them. They are all inherently worthy. And that, I think, is really hard for most people. But I think believing that, if you can believe that about anybody else, if it's kind of like the whole, what kind of advice would you give your friend kind of thing, where, like, if you can believe your friend's worthy of love, how can you not say that to yourself? Like, how can you say that you do believe that about someone else if you believe inherently that it's not true about you? What makes it true about them? So let me just be clear, your life matters, even if you're feeling like it doesn't. and trust me, I understand that. So within this one, I would say that part of recognizing this and kind of working through it is the understanding that you deserve baseline safety, rights, and agency. You are your own person. You deserve to be aware of and to be able to interact with and influence your own thoughts, emotions, behavior, and your world. And you have a, I'm sure there's a lot of political people who might disagree with some stuff, but like, you know, the whole pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Like, yes, in many places we don't genuinely have that level of freedom, but we should. That's the part that you got to consider, that we are supposed to have, and we are inherently worthy, and all of us are inherently worthy of all of these baseline factors. So whatever you feel safety and basic care looks like for another person, you deserve that too. That doesn't mean you have access to it. That doesn't mean you have the capacity to seek it. It doesn't mean that you live in a place where you're gonna get it. Like, it really sucks, because most of the world is not living that way. But we need to understand that that's what's taking place. Okay, next step is self-care. Okay, everyone loves talking about self-care. I wrote down bubble baths versus breathing. So when people think about self-care, they think about the consumerist part of it. It's been commodified. So you think about a bubble bath, and you think about getting your nails done, and you think about spending money on yourself, or buying stuff, or paying for things. Like, it's very much tied with like services or products, and that's probably on purpose, right? I think most people on my end of the political spectrum believe it's on purpose. And I want to challenge you, like I'm sure you have seen before, like I'm not the only person saying this, but that self-care has to do more with care. So when you're taking care of someone, there are very basic things you got to consider. Like, as a mom, that kid needs to be fed, he needs to nap, he needs to get activity in he needs water, I'm teaching him how to do breathing. Like, some of the physical needs that I think are at the most base level would be water, air, sleep, food, activity, meds. Take your medication. I get it. I'm so bad at that. And then, so talk to your own doctor about making decisions about your health, of course. But being able at the end of the day to just do those little things. Because so for some reason they're the hardest. Heck, I think most people could do a bubble bath if they have access to it, and yet they still won't drink water. But taking deep breaths, making sure that you have, with the air part, I mean like taking deep breaths to regulate your system. And also air as in space, you know, like being able to take a moment to retreat, to have a moment to think clearly, to step away from whatever's taking place. Sleep, look into what good hygiene looks like, and then look into what good sleep looks like for you. Some of us have a very different sleep cycle, and we're trying to live on somebody else's schedule, and it's just never gonna work. So my kid wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. Activity doesn't mean go to the gym. It doesn't mean go run a few miles. Activity for everyone is something different. I do steps, I do PT, and so they're like tiny little exercises, but it's things that my body needs, and it just means moving. It means being physically active, getting your heart rate up sometimes, for those for whom it's safe to do that. And again, talk to your doctor if you have somebody to go over those decisions with you, but it's using your body, right? It's very easy. If I didn't have my kid, it would be a lot easier, but to just sit on the couch all day and just let a day go by. And for a lot of people that does happen, and time just passes you by, and getting your nails done might be a beautiful and awesome, cool thing to do. It's not gonna fix your inability to get out of that funk, right? So those other things, even if it means you're starting out with one thing, if you're focusing on just one thing and then you little by little build on it. Obviously there's people who can do all of it who don't even struggle with it, so you're not them, and that's okay. And then emotional needs fall under this too. Some of the ways that some of the things I think are like connection, expression, retreat, support, which could fall into like therapy or community, but fellowship, which would be more community based. We're really social creatures. There's a reason that they use social isolation as a way to torture people in prison. Our bodies need to be able to connect. Like, we need to be able to connect with other humans. And I know we don't like it, and I know there's a whole lot of memes about how we're like, you know, antisocial and all that, and I get it. I was probably more that way when I was like a teenager. I'm more of a social anxiety person. Like, I want to connect with people. I just struggle once I'm in front of them. But as much of it being a struggle, it's important. Like, and this is where, like, that's the thing you might want to change. You might want to become better at talking to people, or you might want to become less anxious, or that's where you get support, you know. And there's things that can change, but first and foremost is recognizing that you have a need for that. Expression, whether that means being able to freely speak, or if you're an artist and you need to draw or sing or write, or being able to express what you're thinking, what you're feeling, is really important. The way I grew up, I didn't really have a lot of outlets for that. I grew up in an abusive household, and so I was very like, I knew how to be careful not to express myself, and that meant that that's an ugly feeling. It's a very ugly feeling, and so it's really important for me, and it's really hard too sometimes, which all of this can be hard. It's okay for that to be hard, but it happens a lot that when we're dealing with in an abusive relationship, in an abusive country relationship, in general, when we're feeling a sense of like we're not safe, that's one of the first things that goes. You might be recognizing this right now. Some of the things that are happening right now are making us think twice about what we're posting, about, well, what if we say this and then this person gets upset? What if I make some view known and now I'm a target? What if, like, there's all these what ifs that might come up, and so it's one of the first things that can be like, yep, I need to, you know, hide. And that mask that we put on, that hurts you. It's not good for you, and it doesn't help you feel safe, because you know deep down that there's another layer back there that will never be safe. And so being aware of what you need, then we can work on how to get it to happen. And then I put retreat because, again, that space, that ability to step away from another person, to be your own person, have your self agency, and to be able to be a person, I guess, like be a person. Sometimes all I want is to not be touched by anybody. Where did my cat go? Oh my gosh, it's in the corner. And then I put cognitive needs, which would be everything mental. So interested, focus. So being able to be into something and put energy into it and like pay attention to it. Integration of values, which is my next video is going to be about praxis versus performance, and we can talk about basically how to align your value system to who you actually are and want to be in the world, and then from there forward we can actually make decisions that match your values versus just doing what you're told to do and trying to seem like you're doing good. Okay, anyways, that integration of values is really important, especially to be able to take care of yourself well. While I love nails and makeup and all that stuff, it's not a thing I'm gonna do. It's not a thing I can put time and effort into doing every day. It's not a thing I am willing to pay for. And so, like, people will be like, oh, you know, go get your nails done, go get a mani-pedi, and it's just like, well, yeah, maybe I could talk myself into doing that, and maybe it will be a nice experience. At the end of the day, that's not gonna solve that need for me, because it's not what I need. Now, if I sat down and like I got to spend 3 hours doing my own nails, even if it's with markers, like if I got to have that fun artsy part of it, I probably would get a lot more from that. And so everybody has a different way of feeling about different things, obviously. But if you can integrate things with your value system, it's gonna have a better effect on how your body feels and how you respond to everything. It's part of taking care of yourself. And then I put meaningful work, meaningful learning, and flow. I love talking about flow. Flow is you have to Google it. I have no way of saying that guy's name, but it's a really long name. But it's this guy who made a theory about how our mind needs to be in a state of flow, meaning that when we get really into something, it's like time disappears. You stop thinking about stuff, you just do it. And it's this really awesome feeling, because when you're done, it's like, it's really de-stressing, it's really calming, it calms your nervous system, your body really likes it. You have a really good response to it. And so learning how to find activities that fall under that can be a really fun way to discover more about yourself. And also, just if you know what it is, do it. Again, it's hard though. Like I said, none of this is easy. Self-direction. So there is a theory called, so there's the stages of change, and then there's, I want to say change cycle or change, it's a circle. So when people go through addiction and they're going through withdrawal and they're going through just the process of getting clean, they're taught about the cycle where you go through changes, right? So sometimes you're really motivated when you first start, right? And then you go through the really difficult withdrawal, and then you have a sense of accomplishment, but then there's relapse. And it's an expected part of the cycle. So a lot of people are like, well, I relapsed, I messed it all up, I messed the whole thing up, it's not possible, I can't change. And the way that we should be looking at is, it's just a part of the cycle. When we're trying to change things in our world, in our life, we need to recognize that sometimes we take a step back, and that doesn't mean that we're no longer going that way. That's a big part of the values part too, because once you have it recognized, like, that's what I want in my life, that's where I'm going. Whether it takes me 10 years or 1 year, a few moments, or takes me my entire life to get there, like, that's where you're going. So that's what I'm talking about there. And then the stages of change, I will have to explain that in a different video at some point. But before you can change, you need to recognize what needs to change, right? Before you recognize what needs to change, you need to recognize what is. Before you recognize what is, you have to even recognize that there's something, like, there's all these different steps that go into getting to a place where you can actually make a different decision or have something turn differently than it should be. And sorry, my nose keeps trying to run, and I think it's because I'm talking and I don't talk to adults that much anymore. It's like my voice and my nose is like, what is all this air coming through? I'm usually like talking like, yeah. I sound like hello, like Miss Rachel. The next thing I want to point out is, like, I put down realism versus optimism versus pessimism. I'll tell you right now, I am one of the worst pessimists. I like to think I'm a realist, but I'm more on the pessimist side. Like, my brain will go to the negative and stay there, and I need to, like, physically grab myself out of there. And some of us, I mean, I don't know, some of us just are that way. My mom is that way, and that's probably where I get it from. If you think I'm negative, my mom will come up with every single horrible thing that could happen to my child in like 10 minutes. So then there's people who are, you know, half glass full, optimist, and it's great. I love that for you. Not everyone lives there. And I think a lot of us are frustrated by people who constantly live there, who are not taking into consideration the changes, the differences, and the privileges that are that are playing a role in how different people react to different situations. We could be incredibly optimistic and be like, you know what, nothing bad's gonna happen, everything's gonna be good, and we just gotta believe it. And some people believe, you know, there's like the attraction theory, or what is it called? The Secret, the law of attraction, where what you put out there is really what comes back to you. And there's real studies for the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. More than likely, most things don't fall into that. And so much, again, a lot of things just aren't in our control. And so being on the realist end is being able to understand that. I turned on my printer. Oops. I don't know what I'm printing. It doesn't mean that you like it. I think that's a big one. People think that in order to recognize what is, so it means that you have to like accept it in a way that means you approve of it. But that's not what this needs to mean. It means that you just recognize it, because you can't change anything until you know that that's a thing that needs to change. And then something I like to tell people, and this is more of a coaching thing, where like deciding to change and actually changing are two very different things. If you get all of your dopamine from the decision to change, there's a good chance you don't ever actually do the change, because like you got all the good feelings from like just making the decision to do it. So you need to mentally be aware of that so that you're able to actually move into action. And then with that goes the idea of managing expectations, and then I want to talk about the willpower myth. So I don't know if the willpower myth is an actual term or if I just used that term. That's what I call it. Go into the fitness side of Instagram and stuff, and you'll see there's no end of people who are out there telling you that you just need to get up and run, and like you just need to, you know, like if you could just get motivated, you could just do it. Like me, I just wake up. Like if I would just wake up and everything was good, then everything would be good. And it's like, duh, but it's not. That's not how life works. So it's a myth that we could just, like if we just felt right and if everything was perfect, things would just be good, right? No. So action, so okay, psychological word would be behavior activation. And it means that you do a thing, and then that activates that feeling of momentum, which then helps you then do the next thing. And so it really is just get up and do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing the thing that you need. It just means do something. Like take an action, take, you know, a tiny little step forward, and then take the next tiny step after that. And then what I mean by managing expectations is that, like, again, if you think of the changes cycle, right? Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes you fall off the track. Sometimes things just have to change. Like, oh my God, I was doing really good with like posting really constantly, and I was really trying to build up my coaching business, and then obviously COVID happened, but a lot of just life I feel like for the last few years, life just has been lifing, right? And sometimes things just physically get in the way. And I've had to manage my expectations of what is even possible for me, what fulfillment looks like, because fulfillment is probably not going to look like being some big influencer, top creator kind of person. But for me, it looks like I have something to say, and I'm going to make the decision to say it. And so just do it, whether it's by writing or sharing somebody else's words or making a video. It took me a long time to get to the video part. And that's where agency and autonomy come in. So I want to talk about the idea of choice versus coercion. We have the choice to change things that we have control of, not just anything, but it's our decision. If you know, I'm sure you're told when you go to the doctor that you need to lose weight or stuff like that. You don't have to. You don't want to. It's your decision. You can look for a better career. You don't have to. You can, I don't know, what are the things people want? To work out. You can get a fancy house. You can get rich. You can, all the things that the world tells you are like things you have to do. They're 100% your choice. And it 100% doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's your choice. So you can want that, and that's great. If that's what you want, and that's how you want to live in this world, and that's what you want to do, that's awesome. But it's not going to feel right if you're doing it because of a different reason that isn't your choice. Now, if you make a choice influenced by something else, that's not what I mean. Obviously, like, I have my kid, you know, that puts a lot of influence on me wanting to do certain things in my life. But that's still a choice I'm making because of a value I have. And so that's what I mean by that. And so by being able to recognize that you have agency, you have autonomy, at the end of the day, if you don't want to interact with the world the way you want to, the way other people want you to, that's your choice. And honestly, that gives you like a really strong sense of safety in the world. And in cases where you genuinely do not have that agency, or at least don't have it in the ways you want it or need it, or in the full capacity that you should, it's the place to start when you're thinking about how to make changes. In the description of this video, I'm going to put on the bottom a bunch of resources, and I almost always just copy and paste a ton of resources that I have already listed out. They're on my website, so I'll put that on there as well. And so I have a whole section of hotlines. If you are in a very unsafe situation that doesn't have to do with like politics in the world, just like abusive relationships or an abusive home, or you are needing help in some more specific ways, I put all the hotlines in there because that's maybe the first step you can take. It's just recognize, like, I recognize that something's going on and I need to take a step that way. And you love yourself enough, you believe you deserve it, to take that action. They're not perfect either, so I know that, but it's a resource that is there. And if you don't feel comfortable at all, you just want to talk to somebody, you can always reach out to me. If anybody sees this video, then maybe, you know, I don't I say that as if like I get hundreds of views. I get maybe 7, but those 7 matter, trust me. I'm just like, oh my god. Okay, being yourself and the world. So I want to talk about the concept of putting on mask, and there's different terms of this. So the idea of mask comes from like the neurodivergence, autism, kind of that spectrum, where in order to interact with the world, you feel the need to put on a different way of expressing yourself in order to feel safe and interact with the world. It's either by expectation or because you were taught to do that. But there's even like with race, right? Code switching. A lot of us know that if you're gonna sucks. If you're gonna make it in the world, you have to talk a certain way. You have to present yourself a certain way. You have to put on your telephone voice. And it's things that we do, they're for safety, right? Because we don't believe that if we don't do them, like, that we'll be in the safest position, whether that means physical safety or just emotional safety. And so I want to ask you, like, who are you really? Who are you in this moment, in the world that we're living in the things that are happening in our world? Who do you want to be? That'll help you with seeing where you need to go next, and like what steps you need to take, where you go through the whole process of by understanding who you want to be in the world. Oh, I kind of go back and forth because, like, oh man, I posted a reel earlier and I almost started crying, so I think it came off really negative, which shit's negative, so I'm gonna feel negative. But I tend to be a very hyper person, and I would love to be that way everywhere I go. I walk into places and then I shut down. And it takes me a long time to feel comfortable enough to just be myself. And then on that same end, it's like sometimes I just don't have the energy and I just don't want to. I want to feel comfortable not having any kind of expression. And so to me, understanding those two and that both of those two things are okay has helped me be able to do that. And then, you know, whatever people want to feel, they can feel themselves. But also in regards to who I want to be in this moment, I am doing a lot of writing and a lot of, I'm sharing a lot of stuff because I want to be able to look back and say I said something and I did something about it. You know, sharing my resources and connecting those things. I feel really scared because I feel like I'm being really dumb, like I'm putting myself on a list. Again, my brain goes to the worst possible option and I'm like, I should already be in Mexico. We should get out. It's 1933, Germany, and this is the time to leave, and if you don't, you're gonna get stuck. Like, that's where my brain is. And so my brain is already at like, well, you better keep a diary because that might be the only, oh my god, I know, I'm really negative, and I know it's not, yeah, I know. That goes to the next point, which was legacy. How do you want to be remembered? And this can fall in with like your family, your friends, your children. How you choose to move in the world right now, especially when you don't feel safe it's gonna have an impact on everybody else around you. Not that you're responsible for their experience, but it does have an effect. Your inability to respond to the things you need to respond to will have an effect, and your over response has an effect, which is why I'm always trying to like chill out, calm myself down. And then learning. I just gave you a ton of information. I don't know how much of it is going to be helpful to you specifically, right? But it might bring up some other things. And this is where you make a decision that I'm going to learn how to understand this concept more, or how to like make this thing come about, or what is she talking about? Like, so making a decision that you're gonna learn. And then I throw out some things on my list of things that are just in general good to learn. For example, boundaries, communication, community building, responsibility, like personal responsibility, then social responsibility. I think a lot of people should read the Constitution right now. And then I wanted to talk about the news. I don't even know, when people say the news, I don't think we all have the same understanding of what that word means, because typically it means like TV news. I grew up watching like local news, right? So when people said Fox News, I didn't know all that crazy stuff that comes on some of these TV shows, because I just saw like the 5 o'clock news or whatever. It was just like a regular news, like, hey, this happened today and the weather's this. And then I saw like Univision, like the Spanish ones, and they always had more information about the world, by the way. But because they expect that the people who are their audience is more international. And so there's those established news cycles. For a lot of us, news is social media. That's where we find everything out. I freaking log in, and then I gotta find out about every horrible thing all the time, and I hate it. But having some understanding of where we're at in the world, what's happening locally and in the world, will help with helping you feel a little bit safer, a little bit more prepared. Oh no, there's a mosquito. No, leave me alone. Bye. It's so hot out. Okay. But you do have to make a decision about, like, what does it look like when you're being too overwhelmed by these things? What does it look like when you're way too focused on things that you legit, like, I gotta tell my mom that I'm talking shit about her, but my mom will be telling me about like some horrible thing that happened in some other country that is very isolated and not like a big systemic thing, and I'm like, why are you focused on this? And like, it's because it's on our news feeds, right? Like, we're just so plugged in and we see these horrible things, and then it affects us. It has a huge effect on us. And so some people respond by like, I'm not gonna have social media, I'm not gonna watch the news, I'm not gonna have anything. But then there are things you need to know. Like, you need to be able to understand and have access to safe and reliable networks of information. If that means you're not the one connecting, but you have a friend who does the connecting and can kind of like clue you in, let them know. I'm sorry, this video is getting really long. My kid's gonna wake up anytime soon. Okay, under extras, I wanted to say 3 things. 1, worst case scenario. So managing the worst case scenario. I want you to think of the worst case. In my brain, this country is becoming Holocaust Germany, and immigrants and LGBTQ people, some women, brown people in general, like, we're all just gonna become, either we're gonna be murdered or slave labor. That's where my brain goes. Like, I think the absolute worst is that. And so, okay, let's say that's what's happening. What needs to happen now? If I knew that and that was 100% the case, what would I be trying to do? And so make a safety plan. Now, if you're undocumented or an immigrant of any sort, or if you just, the plan I made it's information everybody should get. You should have it together. So I'm gonna link it below, but it's it's a safety plan I have in Spanish and in English. Both of the links for the Spanish and English are on each other. So my hope was to make it a one-pager that's easy to like print and share and go pass around places, because a lot of these resources are really long, or people have to download stuff, or like sometimes people really struggle with that. People don't have, not everyone has a printer. But if you have access to the library, at least in my library, they give us 200 library credits for printing. So that means I could go to the library, print out 200 flyers, and pass them out during the week. So that would be really great if you could do that. Help me out with that. But for the safety plan is basically like get all your documents ready, have a plan of action, talk to the right people, have the right things in the right place. And then daily management would be, so I like to, I like to create my own theories, my own little like, because, you know, branding or whatever. But I call it my daily minimums. And so that means, what is the absolute minimum I need to do to function, to stay alive till the next day, right? Everyone's is different. Like, for example, mine doesn't have shower on it. So, like, if it's a horrible day, all I might do is at least try to eat a meal, take my medication. My husband will make me drink water, but probably not a lot, and then just like breathe and get to the next moment. Okay, some of you, everyone's different. If you need help, let me know. Okay, long-term planning. This is where maybe you get to step out a little bit of like the moment that we're in and the difficulty that we're experiencing, and go towards how can we have some sense of control back in our lives. And so long-term planning would be, okay, right now, like I'm not actively locked up in a cage, right? So right now, I'm still living. I need to make decisions about my life. There's things I need to do, things I need to buy, things I need to pay for, things I need to, things I want to do. So things like savings, goals, anchors, things that anchor you to the world and to continuing to move forward and to live. My kid is about to be 3. His birthday's coming up. That's a thing that's coming up. And then it's like I'm thinking about his homeschooling plan and what I'm gonna, what information I need. I got a bunch of cool books, those over there from the library for $20. And so I want to make, because I'm making my own curriculum, and I want to download all this stuff, and it takes forever. I'm doing a lot of these things. I printed out so many things yesterday, but just things to keep me going. So right now, honestly, being able to put out content, especially if I'm able to do it right now, while he's sleeping, maybe, you know, again, it's once a month, and then I write poems whenever it comes up to my mind. I write articles whenever it comes to my mind. I do my Medium, my diary entries once a week, and I'm pretty good with that. And then if I make art, I'll share it. And if I'll share art I already have. Like, I do a ton of stuff, I'll just share it. And that's my way of connecting, and I want to put it out to the world. And that's the thing that is keeping me excited about every day. It's keeping me excited about the possibility of, I don't know, being like, I just feel like I'm a person that way. So obviously everybody is different, you know. Some people are thinking retirement, some people are thinking, you know, I want a house one day. Some people are thinking I want to move. That's really hard. So yeah. Okay, so on the description I will add it's bit.ly/undocumented-emergency-plan-guide. I don't know why I made it so complicated. Undocumented emergency plan guide. But honestly, you could give it to anybody and the information would be helpful. And then for me, some of my basics would be like my child. I have to feed him, he has to nap, he has to play. I have to keep him sane during the day, whether that means doing activities or just like playing with him. And then basic health for me is my focus. On any given day is my basic health. You see how long it takes me to drink a cup of water, and I already have to pee, and I haven't even drank like a third of it. I need to drink more water. And then my mental health, which means I have my own set of like my own safety plan for that, and supports and what I need. I know what I need to do if things get worse. And I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of being honest about how I'm feeling and sharing it when it feels overwhelming. I don't think the internet's the best place to share it, but sometimes you just gotta get shit out of your head, you know? And then, so for example, some of the things that are like those long-term planning things that keep me going is like some of the activism, advocacy stuff I do. That stuff, it gives me a sense of purpose. Being the person that people come to kind of explain what's going on and help them, it gives me a sense of purpose. Sometimes it's a lot, but everything's a lot, so might as well do something you care about. And then eventually, in a world where nothing bad is happening and everything goes back to normal or to a good place, I have things I want to do with my life. Like, I want to feel good about certain things. Like, I want I want to have goals that I'm excited about, and I want to create. Eventually, I want to my little coaching business. I want it to work, and I want to be able to do my art and my writing and all these other things and have it be something. So those are those anchors that are gonna move me forward. Okay. Oh my god, that was a lot. Let me sit down. My back hurts. Okay. An hour and 10 minutes. I have some call to actions. I had to make an outline to help me do this. I'm sure you know at the end of the videos, people usually ask you for something, and I don't want to hide the fact that that's what I'm doing. But breathe. I got dizzy when I stood up. Okay, there is this really cool account I follow on Instagram. It's Gym Rat in Gaza. I'll write his thing properly. He's a person who's living right now in locations that are getting bombed, and I've been following his story for a little bit, and like he literally, oh my god, I've been able to see things get worse and worse and worse, and he is the most motivated person. This guy hustles. Like, he is out there. He has coaching clients for, like, because he does fitness, and he is like working, and he's getting the funds that he needs to help his family, and he's surviving, and like he himself will say like he's in a much better position than other people. But you see it and you're like, yeah, that's not a great position to be in compared to anybody over here. Like, I think sometimes we get very frustrated with everything that's going on. We're like, eggs are pricey, this is high, this is the gas, blah blah blah. There are people barely making it. So I want to point you guys to him. He has some fundraisers set up for himself and his family, and then he has been sharing other people's that he knows that, as far as I know, he is legit in every way. He's actually really consistent and stuff. So this guy's working. He's like over here, he has clients, and his internet goes out because of the whole war stuff going on, and he like is creating systems so that his people can still find the information that they need. Like, I don't have that energy. I don't have that motivation. It's really inspiring, honestly. It's I worry about him. And so I just want to share his account with you, and then you'll notice is once you see his account, more of those types of accounts are going to pop up. And I understand you can't give to everything, but sometimes just liking it, commenting, sharing it, it makes a difference, at least to those people, because there's so many avenues where they can get support, and if they need to be seen in order to get it. And so I'm going to put that information down there. Okay, and then I also wanted to say that if you want to add any mutual aid requests, I would love to be able to make that like a thing that can happen under my videos or any of the stuff I make. I've worked in spaces where that wasn't allowed, and so I want it to be a thing I can do. And I don't know why I never brought it up before. It's just I was scared. Because people get scared of like, oh, somebody's scamming this or this, and it's like, okay, well, we're all adults, we can make decisions about how we spend our money. If you can't give, don't give. And if you like, you know, the whole like, don't lend anything that you can't afford to lose. Same goes with giving money. But yeah, if you need something, please post below. And then, oh, okay, sorry. Oh, I'm so excited. I am publishing my poetry book. It's called Untying You From Me. It's poems that I've written from when I was like pretty young, like middle school, all throughout to now. And I got into my head that I could put it together. I could make a book. Like, and then as I put them all together into a collection, I was able to create a really good unifying theme. It has themes of like healing from religious trauma, from abuse, from just going from being a person who didn't feel like she was a person to being able to be myself. I think people who only have known me in the past would be so surprised at who I am now, and I see it in myself. I see it, and like, I'm really happy with that. If only freaking world would stop being that, I could be great. But I'm really excited. I don't have any real information about it just yet. Once I have a publishing date, I'll post that. Once I want to have a sign up to get it's called a launch team, and people who can read the book ahead of time, and people who can help me with promoting. I don't like promoting. You can't tell. I used to be a salesperson for a company a few years back, and like a long time ago, and I hated it so much. And I learned all the sales tactics, and I can recognize it a mile away, and I hate it. And I have a really hard time with it. But we live in a world that requires that. Like, if you're gonna be successful, like, you have to be able to sell this, and you have to be able to. And it does suck when, like, you put a lot of energy and time and effort into something and nobody sees it. And I mean, my ethic right now is that I need to put out what I need to put out and do what I need to do, regardless if nobody sees it. And that's how I felt with the book. And then I took the steps to initiate getting it published, and it's gonna get published now. So I have to commit to the steps of promoting it, even if it's hard. So I'm gonna really need help. But yeah. I will put out more information as I have it, but I just want to keep you guys in the loop. And then if you can, you know, like this video, share it, comment, follow me, interact on any. I'm on every social except, you know, X. I've never really been big on Twitter, anyways, but I'm on Threads, and I try. I'm not really good at posting. I'm not a casual poster. I get pissed off and go on a giant long rant, or I get inspired and I put all this effort into writing something really deep, and like, but I'm not good at just comment. Like, I can argue with people, but I'm not really good at like just being like, hey, I ate this today. I'm trying to, because like I think of funny stuff. I think I'm funny. It's just by the time I get to my phone, it's gone, or I said it out loud and now it doesn't mean anything. So I'm not good at reposting my own stuff. Like, I'm not good at doing the influencer content person thing, and I hate it because I don't like having to rely on that. But I also understand that, like, it's important in order if you want what you do to be seen and for it to matter. So help me. And then yeah, thank you so much. It's a long video, I know, and if you made it through, I really appreciate it. I hope it wasn't too annoying. No, it's not annoying. I'm not annoying. Tell myself nice things. I am gonna go and try to calm down before my son wakes up. I'm gonna post this on YouTube. I don't know when it'll go up, so I filmed it on the 1st. Hopefully it goes up quickly, but it's gonna take forever to like go from my phone to my computer to the And again, nobody asked for this. This came out of my own thing based on what I feel like is necessary. And so again, nobody might even see this, but I'm trying to, what's that thing, like, release out into the world, and God will take care of it if He wants it to be, and if not, something will happen with it. Thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful, blessed day.